If you're looking for live local music from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, you came to the right place. Welcome to Hugh Shows.
We're all at the Hugh Show. It's a lot of fun. He's got all the answers. Yeah, he's got them written down. So let's all watch a Hugh Show till he gets to number one. Yeah.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I am your host, Hugh Twyman, and I have been writing a music and photography blog in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for 16 years. Check me out at HughShows.com and follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at HughShows. My musical guest for this edition of HughShows Social Distance Television is Brittney Chantele, a Pittsburgh-based singer-songwriter, visual artist, public speaker, and activist who is not afraid to go deep and not afraid to do the work using a combination of art and action to inspire people to create positive change. That is evidenced in her latest work, a concept album entitled The Bolden Opportunity, released last February, that documents her dramatic and oftentimes harrowing experience in the Army National Guard. And would you all please welcome Brittney Chantele. Hey, Brittney.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for doing this.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, how you holding up in this pandemic? How is it affecting your...
You know, I have the good days and the bad days. I think more good than bad. Creativity has been a little rough, but I've learned to not force it and have had some nice creative evenings and stuff. So, you know, I'm just trying to hang in there, and I keep trying to remember that other people have it worse than I do, and that kind of puts things into a better perspective for me.
Yeah, it's interesting you said how it's dealing with your creativity. I find talking to people, musicians especially, that you know, it's giving them ample opportunity, and you know, it's like almost a luxury to be able to invest the time into their work. But you know, a couple have said, you know, it's almost too much time, and it's like almost like a writer's block because of it.
Yeah, and it's, you know, I don't necessarily call myself an extrovert or an introvert. I kind of feel like I'm both. But I do think that lack of being able to go out and interact and go to other shows and whatnot is, you know, almost, you know, a dip in my inspiration, because I do get inspired by going out and seeing people and hanging out and stuff. So I think that has a lot to do with it.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's like you write from experience. So if your experience is enclosed, you know, during all this, it's a different thing. Do you have a regular job that you can work, or you're full time doing this, right?
Yeah, I call myself a full-time artist because the reality of it is between writing grants and creating and performing. I mean, I am putting in 35 to 40 hours a week doing it. I do have another job. I work as a private tattoo studio manager. So we haven't been able to tattoo. So it's been a very odd time, you know, as it is for everyone, but yeah.
Yeah. It certainly is. We're going to talk a bit about your album, The Bolden Opportunity, but first we're going to hear a song from the release that was in April 29, Fire on Venus, and this is called Moonroof, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Right on. So if you don't mind getting to it, let's hear Moonroof.
Absolutely.
Hey. All right, so do me a favor. Picture yourself hanging out of the moonroof of a car. Your best friend is driving you around the city, and it's a beautiful day out. You're just having fun. Hey, we got the moonroof open, and we're rolling around. Hair, put it down, you don't care anyhow. Ooh, and you love the sound. Ooh, love yourself, you deserve it now. Moonroof open, and we're rolling around. Hair, put it down, you don't care anyhow. Ooh, and you love the sound. Ooh, love yourself, you deserve it now. I don't got a fancy car, but but I got a moonroof. If you gonna ride with me, you know what to do. You know what to do. You know what to do. Stand up through the roof, I know you're feeling free. I know you're doing you, wish you were doing me. Wish you were doing me. Wish you were doing me. Independent, sexy, loving all of you. Took you many years, show off all the work you do. All the work you do. All the work. We got the moon roof open and we roll around. Hey, I put it down, we don't care anyhow. And you love the sound. Love yourself, you deserve it now. Moon roof open and we roll around. Hey, I put it down, you don't care anyhow. And you love the sound. Love yourself. Hey, put your hands up. If you love yourself, put your hands up. If you're feeling yourself, put your hands up. Put your hands up. Cause it's a full-time job, just loving yourself. Hey.
That was Brittney Chantele with her song Moonroof off of Fire, her album A Fire on Venus. Could you talk about how like dramatically different these two albums are, Fire on Venus to The Golden Opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first and foremost, the thing that really stands out is the fact that The Golden Opportunity is way heavier. You know, I'm talking about my military experience and just kind of being upfront and in your face with my words. You know, I'm not really using too much imagery and like beating around the bush. I'm just, you know, saying, hey, this is the story, this is the situation. Whereas A Fire on Venus, you know, I'm talking about love. There's a few heavy songs on A Fire on Venus, but I feel like they are, you know, the type of heavy that can really be, you know, taken as you want it to be. You know, if you're not going through a breakup or if you're not going through an abusive relationship, you know, it can still be a heavy song, but maybe it doesn't hit as heavy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I definitely think, you know, there's a heaviness difference in the albums. There's obviously the topic difference, and the sound is different too. You know, the Moonroof is more, you know, kind of light and still has those jazz elements in there. You know, Remy Vig was on the production on both of them, so they both have like these jazzy, you know, California vibe elements. But the reality of it is that The Golden Opportunity just hits harder. Yeah,
and I'm impressed with the dichotomy there, because the tracks themselves, the music is, you know, it's like kind of like grooving, but then on songs like Fort Sill, Basic Training, you know, the lyrics are like right in your face, left, right, kill, left, right, kill. And it's, you know, it brings to mind that, you know, these subjects can be heavy, but there's like a fresh laid back groove, and, you know, how you interblended them. It's quite amazing for the overall effect. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is. It's a stunning piece of work, and we're going to hear two songs from The Golden Opportunity, which was just released in February. And you were able to, before the pandemic, you had a release show at Thunderbird, correct?
Yeah. Thank God.
Yeah, I just got it right under the line, because I know, you know, a lot of people, and I'm sure you have, had to cancel shows after that in March and April. But yeah, that's, you know, I can't believe it. But, and when we come back on the other side of this song, JROTC, I want to talk about the, you know, controversy or whatever bullshit criticism some people were giving you, and how, you know, I just didn't understand it. But we'll talk about that. You're going to perform JROTC from The Golden Opportunity. Cool?
Absolutely.
Right on.
Major word, tell me what's the word. Tell them save that bullshit for the birds. They may not concur. Show me all the things that I prefer. Turn me into her, turn me into someone you prefer. Tell me what's the word, make it work. Help me stay informed, here's my uniform. Pressed impressive, tell me what's the form. How do I inform? Tell me what's the army branded norm. Help me break the storm, I trust you won't leave me misinformed. You don't want me torn, military ball in my awards. Got me looking toward rose and colored glasses paint the floor. Help torch. I found me a friend that's looking for my new ribbon score. Was Commander junior year, of course, never seen before. I had my Sergeant Major word. Tell me what's the word. Tell them save that bullshit for the birds. They may not concur. Show me all the things that I prefer. Turn me into her. Turn me into someone you prefer. Tell me what's the word. Major word. Sergeant Major word. Tell me what's the word. What's the word? Sergeant Major word. Tell me what's the word. What's the word? Sergeant Major word. Tell me what's the word. What's the word? Sergeant Major word. Tell me what's the word. What's the word? Sergeant Major. Will I be major? Could it be now? Would it be later? Sergeant Major, what is your word? Will I be favored? Will I be heard? Will I be heard? Sergeant Major word, tell me what's the word. Tell them save that bullshit for the birds. They may not concur. Show me all the things that I prefer. Turn me into her. Turn me into someone you prefer. Tell me what's the word. Major word. Sergeant Major word. Tell me what's the word. Tell them save that bullshit for the birds. They may not concur. Show me all the things that I prefer. Turn me into her. Turn me into someone you prefer. Tell me what's the word. Major word. Sergeant Major word. Tell me what's the word. What's the word? Sergeant Major word. Tell me what's the word. What's the word? Sergeant Major word. Tell me what's the word. What's the word? Sergeant Major word. Tell me what's the word. What's the word?
And that was Brittney Chantele performing JROTC off her latest release, The Bolden Opportunity, which was released in February. It seems like 5 years ago.
Yeah, it does feel like a while.
It's crazy. Yeah, when the album came out, you were getting some shit in the media or criticism online from who and for what?
Yeah, so I mean, mainly veterans and mainly people who either have military members in their family, and they're very, very, yellow ribbons, support our troops, and which I respect. I don't pass judgment on that. I mean, my entire family has served, so it was a lot of people really, how should I say this? People read my interview in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, as well as the Pittsburgh Courier and the Pittsburgh City Paper. And, with the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, that story kind of gets copied and repeated throughout, many different cities. So a lot of different other online newspapers picked that up. So that kind of, broadened where the story went. And it also got posted because of that, it got posted to several military blogs and military, news sources. The feedback and, the shit that I was getting was, oh, you're a deployment dodger. You're just a baby. How did you not know what you were signing up for? And I think the picture that people are missing out is yes, I was never deployed. Yes, I joined ROTC in college in order to avoid a potential deployment, because at that point I wasn't ready to get deployed. I had been sexually assaulted in the military. I didn't feel like it would be safe for me to deploy for myself and for the others around me. Let alone I was developing, these kind of different ideas about war and the things that we were involved in, and I didn't want to be a part of it. With all that said, I think the thing that people are missing is that what I'm trying to say with this album is that I have experienced so much abuse in many different ways: abuse of power, sexual assault, harassment, racism, homophobia. I've witnessed transphobia, xenophobia. I've witnessed all of these things without even getting deployed. And they did affect me. And I would be lying if I said that they didn't. I'm trying to let people know that these things are not healthy. It's not that I didn't know I was going to be yelled at by drill sergeants. It's not that I didn't know I wasn't going to have my phone and talk to my family. I've gotten a lot of shit for that. Like, there were a lot of comments from veterans like, oh, poor baby, she didn't have her phone for 3 months. Like, you're missing the point of what I'm trying to say.
Right.
There's a bigger picture here. And the picture is that they say it, quote unquote, they break you down to build you up. And this is at an age, 17, 18, 19 years old, where you are just starting to find yourself. You've just stepped on the path to doing that. And at that point, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a doctor, but I believe that you're at a very, vulnerable point in your life, and a point where instead of being called names or being made to eat an entire box of Snickers in front of a platoon and getting laughed at, I think that you should be having some different experiences there to build yourself up. There's so many layers to it. There's just so many layers to it. And I think that a lot of these comments and a lot of this feedback was from people who decided to not see the layers. They decided to not look into what I'm trying to say. And also, veterans will take things very personally when you say, if I say fuck war, if I say, basic training is a traumatic experience, if I say those things, they take that really personally because they've been through those things and they believe that I'm attacking their personal experiences.
Right.
When in reality, I'm just calling out what I'm calling out.
Right. And it's interesting. It's a knee-jerk reaction. They don't want to delve into the layers and the subtleties that you're writing about, but it's just like, oh, I see that, and boom. It's like this culture now that we have, like, some people sharing headline clickbait stuff, and how your situation blew up because people gravitated or latched onto that. And you're so right about the age, because if I'm not mistaken, you were like all in. You were like, hey, I want to make this my career. But it's so hard as a teacher. It's so hard for me to recommend students to a certain path that they're going to be stuck on. Basically, they're going to invest money in secondary school, which is fine, but I didn't know what I wanted to do until I was 25. You know what I mean? And I think this way the system is built up, you're right. We're still kids at 18, 19, 20. It's just amazing. And but luckily you were able, to use that as an experience in your art. And how has that criticism, did it make you stronger? Did it beat you down for a while? Or how was the effect for all this stuff coming at you?
Yeah, the initial reactions really for me were, wow, you are the people that I'm talking about. Like,
almost proving your point.
Exactly. I mean, how can you listen? I think 3 of the songs in my album mention me being sexually assaulted in some way. How can you, and these people, a lot of these people didn't listen to the album, but the reality of it is how can you say that my experiences are, insulting to you? That's insane. You're saying that you are insulted because I was assaulted.
Right.
That's so wild to me.
It's wild to me too, but it's like victim shaming because of your experience. It's like they want you to shut up and don't criticize certain things. And it's like, look, this happened to me. I'm trying to, I'm trying to be real here.
And that's what the military teaches you, is they teach you to obey and to listen. And when you're told to shut up and to not talk bad on what you're a part of. And I say this all the time, and I've given speeches about my experience and whatnot, and I always say this, that there is a set of values for every single branch of the military. They're almost identical. There's very small differences. I will never forget the Army values because they were pounded into my head. They're engraved in there. Loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. And when I joined, I was under the impression, and quite honestly was promised, that the people to my left and right would have my back no matter what. And that the people to my left and right, just as I am expected to uphold to those values, they will uphold to those values as well. And if I'm being sexually assaulted, if I am experiencing homophobia, racism, etc., you know, 6 out of those 7 values directly are being violated.
Wow.
So how can we, you know, this is at this point, this is just hypocrisy nation. There's so many hypocrites to my left and right. How can I trust you guys to have my back on anything, whether
Right.
that's, you know, the daily grind or, you know, being deployed? I can't. And that, quite honestly, that's not what I signed up for.
Right. And yeah, I was graduating from high school. I didn't want to go into college right away. So I did a few things. But I worked production on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and I was a scenic artist, and, you know, I was an artist growing up. And so I flirted with the idea of joining the Navy, and I went down, and I didn't know what I was doing. You know, I was like, hey, what would the Navy have to offer? So I'll never forget, I was talking to a recruiter, and he said, well, what do you do? And I go, well, I'm an artist. I paint scenery. He goes, oh, okay, you could paint the side of a ship. And I can't imagine being on this, like, I'm a fair-skinned dude. I'd burn. I just like, this is not for me. Like, luckily, I didn't get that far, but they hounded me because they had my phone, they had my number. They just hammered me for months trying to say, hey, did you reconsider? Hey, are you going to join up? It was just amazing. So I could see that that dogged, relentless, you know, what they want, they get, or try to, you know?
Yeah. And that's what I try to say on my song Recruiters, you know, and the biggest thing is that they will lie to you until you say yes. And that I tell people this story as well. You know, I was a volunteer firefighter in high school, and I really actually wanted to be a full-time firefighter for the city of Pittsburgh, and was thinking about, you know, even maybe going to New York and doing it there. And when I talked to a recruiter, he's like, oh, well, you can be a firefighter in the Pennsylvania Army National Guard. No, you can't, because Pennsylvania does not experience wildfires as do, like, per se, California, Nevada, Arizona. So the Pennsylvania Army National Guard does not have any firefighters.
Wow.
I would have to join California National Guard or Nevada National Guard. And when I found that out, I brought that up to my recruiter. And he was like, oh, well, you know, in that instance, you could always just do a transfer, and you could transfer to the California National Guard. Wait a minute.
Yeah, wait. Hey, we have a solution for everything. We just want you to sign your name, you know?
It's wild. It's wild.
Scary. We're going to hear one last song. This is called Different, and it also from the Bolden Opportunity. You mind playing it?
Absolutely.
Right on. This is Brittney Chantele with Different.
Hey, poncho designed by Stu Frick, by the way. Hey. Yeah, this shit ain't about rewards, and this shit ain't about rewarding, this shit ain't about reward. This is just two different people, yeah. Different colors, different ways, yeah. This shit ain't about rewards, and this shit ain't about rewarding, this shit ain't about reward. This is just two different people, yeah. Different colors, different ways, yeah. Yeah, I ain't going to war, I ain't deploying, you kidding, I just evaded that shit, cause fighting for life is like prison. Yeah, I ain't kidding, no going back when I made my decision. I feel like happiness isn't gonna result from my killing. Yeah, I ain't popping it off, that don't sound popping. I'm moving my paperwork to the states to stay for the record. I'm choosing to be an officer over taking a life overseas. I'll take a contract extended over corrupting the peace. Yeah, this shit ain't about rewards, and this shit ain't about rewarding, this shit ain't about reward. This is just two different people. Yeah, different colors, different ways, yeah. Yeah, this shit ain't about rewards, and this shit ain't about rewarding, this shit ain't about reward. This is just two different people, yeah. Different colors, different ways, yeah. And now they talking they shit, they say that Brittney ain't it. They say I'm lazy as fuck, they even said I should quit. They gave me 4 years of school, I think that's cool, but get this, why would I ditch a degree to die with my hands on a clip? And now I'm talking my shit, I thought it's smart how I did. It's either death or the ranch, I said of course I'm a dip. I didn't break any laws, I peeped them catching offense. I tell them therapy works, they actually care when you vent. Yeah, this shit ain't about rewards, and this shit ain't about rewarding, this shit ain't about reward. This is just two different people, yeah. Different colors, different ways, yeah. Yeah, this shit ain't about rewards, and this shit ain't about rewarding, this shit ain't about reward. This is just two different people, yeah. different colors, different ways, yeah.
And that was Brittney Chantele with her song "Different." I wanted to give a shout out to collaborators on this album. I've seen a lot of guest appearances and collaborators. Do you want to talk a little about who helped you out?
Yeah, absolutely. So the album was produced, recorded, and mixed by Remy Vega.
Love
Um,
Remy.
Love Remy. He's
Yeah.
awesome. So great. And the album was also co-written by me and then Treble NLS. Treble and I have been working together for a good bit as well. He helped write several songs on A Fire on Venus as well. The album was mastered by Von Woolsey with Tree Lady Media. And on the album, I have a couple features. So Treble NLS is on Trigger Finger. I have JM the Poet on PTSD Remix. And I also have Saeed on Recruiters.
Nice. Yeah. And there's no dearth of talent in Pittsburgh. I mean, it's just everywhere, and people were always so helpful and always so willing to collaborate. So I see that all the time. It's wonderful. It
It's
really
really,
is.
really awesome. It's
So
really awesome.
Yeah, I could talk to you all day, Brittney. I could be, I could be here for hours, but I appreciate you doing this. Where can we find you online? Where's your best place to find you?
Absolutely. So my music is available on all music streaming platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes. Also available for free on SoundCloud. I'm on Bandcamp. My merchandise is on Bandcamp now. And then I also have my website, BrittneyChantele.com.
Right on. So I'll have that listed right here. Once again, I've been using the Pittsburgh accent, Chantele. it's Brittney Chantele, ladies and gentlemen, right? Yeah.
It's
so
okay.
Yeah. But I appreciate you doing this, and hopefully we'll be able to see each other soon, out and about. Just we all have to hang in there. But thank you so much for doing this, Brittney.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And thank you all for tuning in. Check me out at HughShows.com. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at HughShows. And please always remember to #support Pittsburgh music. Always support Pittsburgh artists. We appreciate it. So thanks, Brittney. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Right on.
We have a way of explaining things to Hugh. Yeah, we have a way of explaining things to Hugh. Yeah, we have a way of explaining things to Hugh. Yeah, we have a way of explaining things to Hugh. Yeah, we have a way.